Good morning and welcome back to Hot Take episode 8. I'm joined by Mark Goldbridge. How are you, fella?
Very, very good. Ready to go. Some really good clips to get into this week, and I'm sure we'll get some good conversation going.
Yeah, look, great clips to talk about. Some great tweets as well. We're talking about Arsenal. Can they come back against PSG this week? We're talking Trent's betrayal of Liverpool. We're exposing Jamie Carragher, 1, for being a hypocrite, and 2, the audacity about when it comes to celebrations from him is unbelievable. We're taking a look at the Europa League controversy this week and who should and should not qualify for the Champions League. Plus, Mark calling out a prat online. We're going to be delving into all of that on the show. Please get the like button hit if you haven't done so already. Get yourself subscribing. I know a lot of people are joining us here today from the United Stand as well. So welcome to the Football Terrace. The first clip, though, Wenger with monkey hand Richard Keys talking about the Europa League. Let's listen to what they say.
That we are about to watch a Europa League final between two English clubs. One's 15th,
14th and 15th.
14th and 15th. The prize will be a place in the Champions League. Is that right?
No.
It's not.
Well, it is right if you make the decision that it is right.
Well, yes,
but
the reward seems far too great for two.
They should qualify automatically for the Europa League again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not necessarily for the Champions League, especially when you are in a league where you have already so many teams, 5 teams who qualify. So it will be looked.
Firstly, they should sort their audio out for being sports. It's really bad audio from their perspective. But what do you make of that? It's been a big talking point for a few weeks now. We saw journalists start this conversation 3 weeks ago. Now you've got beIN Sport, Sky Sports, everybody piling in that Man United and Spurs would be the first winners of the Europa League in the last 10 years who currently are not worthy of a Champions League spot. Thoughts on that, mate?
I think, look, as somebody of a more mature age, I'm into my 40s now. I just hope I realise when the football's left me, because watching those three, and I've got massive respect for Wenger, not Keys. I just think it's such a bad take. Like, you know, we can look at our demographics, and I have a lot of people who watch the United Stand who are aged 18 to 35. I think people who watch beIN are probably like Talk Sport. It caters to people over 45. It's just old, miserable, bitter prats talking crap without actually, you know, thinking it through. This has been going on for 10 years. We've had this format for 10 years. It was never a problem with La Liga. I saw you on about this yesterday. It wasn't a problem with Atalanta. It's now a problem because Arsène Wenger, deep down, doesn't like Spurs and doesn't like Manchester United. Neither does Richard Keys. And they don't like the fact that Spurs and Man United are having a horrific season and they want to ridicule it. But then there's this final where they could actually rescue it. So they don't like it. But football's about entertainment, Terry. And the reality is, the Europa League is run by UEFA, and UEFA don't really have to adhere to anything that the Premier League does or La Liga does. They have the Conference League. If you win it, it's like a promotion into the Europa League. If you win the Europa League, it's like a promotion into the Champions League. It works really well, and it gives clubs an incentive to not only win a bit of silverware, but to go to the next level, which in life is exactly what you should do. If you're studying in your GCSEs and you're at a B, but you exceed that, you'll get an A. And also on top of that, football, we have too much of it. Football isn't as good as it was 20 years ago is a common thing I hear. And yet you've got this system here where the Europa League is getting the viewing figures of the Champions League in certain games because Man United are in it and Spurs are in it and Bilbao have got the final in it. And if they win it, they're into the Champions League. So it's just miserable. I can't stand people who want to put the handbrake on progress. This is something that actually... the fact that it's generating that conversation just shows you that it's riling some people, but actually it's a real positive. And I don't think the Europa League is going to be anywhere near as interesting if next season you remove it and Villa are in it and all they know is if they win it, they're back in it. Like, it's so much better for the teams.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. If people don't feel that the clubs that win the Europa League warrant a place, fine, but you have to make it a blanket rule. What we can't be doing is adding subjectivity to it. And that's what I've seen how a lot of people have tried to justify this when you scratch beneath the surface of their initial opinion. You say, well, they're not, Man United are not worthy. Why? Well, the league position, is why. Okay, well, the league position. Well, what about a team like Sevilla that have won it being in 12th place? Why did you not bring the conversation up then? That's a fair challenge. What about a team that maybe wins it next season, who's from Portugal, but they're currently 6th in the Portuguese league? There is a fair argument to say that that Man United, even today, 15th in the Premier League, are better than most of the teams in Portugal, as an example. So therefore, if they come 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in Portugal, which is higher than 15th in the Prem, and win the Europa League, will Richard Keys, will Wenger, will the Daily Mail, will Sky Sports be having this conversation? We all know the answer to this is no. Nobody is going to care about this next season unless it's two big English teams. And by the way, to all the Chelsea fans, all the City fans, all the Liverpool fans agreeing with Wenger and co, is if it was your team and they were having this conversation, you would also reject it. You can't change the rules mid-season based on subjectivity. Equally, I think one of the biggest key points why people are pushing hard for this or are more annoyed is that I think people realize that if Man United do get an extra £100 million next year, there is, as you say, that progression element. It will speed up our progression, hopefully, as long as you spend the money correctly.
But you know what?
Go on, mate, go on.
Sorry. No, what I was going to say is Pavan in the chats makes a great point. Wenger's working for FIFA. The Club World Cup has got more holes in it than a hedgehog's pillow. Like, it's Chelsea, fair play. Well done, Chelsea. You're going to get 50 million quid. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'm going, how the hell are we in this tournament? When did we win the Champions League? You're in the Club World Cup. Chelsea are not even in the top 4 in England, and they're not going to be, and they're in the Club World Cup. Barcelona aren't in it. Arsenal aren't in it. Liverpool aren't in it. 3 of the best teams in the world are not in the Club World Cup. Maybe Wenger should look at his own bloody house before he starts trying to get others in order. And also, the Premier League having 6 teams in the Champions League. So bloody what? What does he want? More bloody Bodo Glimps? You know, the reality is the Champions League. I don't want a Club World Cup with clubs from everywhere in the world. Oh, I want a World Cup and I'd love to see Fiji in it. No, I bloody wouldn't. I wouldn't want Fiji at the expense of Italy, with all due respect to Fiji. I want the World Cup to have the best teams in it. I want the Champions League to have the best teams in it. This whole we shouldn't have 6 teams in it. Why? It's the best league in the world. Why shouldn't we have 6 teams in it? It's all it's done through, it's legitimately done. We have 4 teams, and then we've done well in Europe, so we've been given a 5th team. And then we're going to win the Europa League, so we get a 6th team. There's nobody going. There's no backhanders going on. We've legitimately taken the spots.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I've got no personal problem with Chelsea being in the World Club Cup, but there are teams in that, and this is why I argue. This is why my argument will just stand for everything that's being said, for all the fair points being made. You are only having this conversation partly because Tottenham are there, and a big part of it is because Man United. Nobody is talking about the World Club Cup and say, well, hang on a minute. This team from, as you say, this team, these 3 or 4 clubs that nobody's heard of being there and getting paid 50 million quid. No one's saying, well, this tournament's a sham. What people are looking at is, well, I'm excited to see what this tournament is about. It's massively a Man United thing and Spurs thing, but it would be the same if it was Chelsea, if it was Arsenal. I also think the media have run out of things to talk about. It's been a boring season. Doesn't mean there's not been quality teams. Doesn't mean there hasn't been, Liverpool are undeserving as champions. So Liverpool fans, please don't get triggered. But it's been a boring season because the City criticism was done. It's over. Nobody's interested in it anymore. Everyone knows Man United's predicament. No one's interested in it anymore. Spurs the same. Arsenal were criticised 6 weeks ago when the league title race ended. There's not much more to say right now. So I think they've got to find talking points, and I wouldn't be surprised
for it as well.
It's a
shame on us for falling into. Shame on Arsène Wenger. Actually, Richard Keys is every United fan knows he talks absolute shite. Shame on BN Sports for giving him a job. He's a fossil. But shame on Arsène Wenger for going sitting there and because I respect Wenger. I respect what he's done for Premier League football. I respect him as a coach. Just shame on him for sitting with that prat and talking shit.
Yeah,
people might say the same of you.
Yeah. No, I get that. I'm a little disappointed in it because I'm someone that remembers the old European format where the champions or maybe top 2 went into Champions League. People don't remember. And this is why when people even slag off Arsenal and say, you've only got a Cup Winners' Cup. Yes, in an era where the Cup Winners' Cup was only seen as marginally less attractive than the Champions League or European Cup.
Yeah,
these are the same. Wenger and Keys are from the generation that tore up the script with Europe, and they put all the money and all the eggs into the Champions League, which devalued the UEFA Cup, got rid of the Cup Winners' Cup. And for years, it wasn't just English teams, but multiple nations didn't even take the UEFA Cup seriously, to a point where people would win it. And a bit like the League Cup, people go, Mickey Mouse European Trophy. And some of my generation, that always hurt me as a football fan. Go, hang on, this cup used to be massive. So the same people now moaning that. So what they did is they added in bigger rewards for teams winning these competitions, like Champions League qualification.
Brilliant.
That was pushed for 15 years by the media, by the Sky Sports, by the pundits. They pushed for it. They pushed for it. They also criticized. Exactly. They also criticized every year. We shouldn't be rewarding failure, and there shouldn't be teams that drop down from the Champions League. And by and large, every single football fan agreed. Man United, we're not even there yet, by the way, which is the irony in this. We've still got to get a job done on Thursday. Man United are a game and a bit away potentially from winning it. Suddenly, that 10 to 15 year campaign to reward the winners properly, to give them a bigger incentive, and to stop rewarding failure from the group stages of the Champions League down to the Europa League. Everybody wants to undo it because a team like Man United and a team like Spurs might benefit. It absolutely reeks to high heaven, in my personal opinion.
And also, it's such a bad opinion, and I'll leave it here, because as we know, there are occasions, normally, United and Spurs have had horrific seasons, by the way. There are normally occasions where the team that's trying to win the Europa League will be fighting for top four. It's happened loads of times. It's happening with Bilbao. They're fourth in La Liga, and they're fighting for the Europa League. Now, you then have to make a choice. Mourinho did it in 17. He was like, I'm giving up. I think we finished 8th. I'm focusing on the Europa League. I'm resting players. And you will have to do that. So if they take away the qualification from winning the Europa League for the Champions League, teams will just go, don't give a shit about the Europa League. The Champions League qualification in the league's more important. We'll play the reserves in the Europa League, completely devalue it, and it will be gone. So I'd love to have been on that panel and sat the three Pratts down, really.
No, you're absolutely right. It's Pratesh here says, there's a reasoning, but there is reasoning behind it. The reasoning is that since the Champions League teams don't drop down to the Europa League, winners shouldn't qualify. The reasoning is fine, but no way it can be applied now after the first leg of the semis.
Makes no difference to me.
Yeah, you can't change it mid-season. But the thing for me is, though, my man, and I appreciate the super chat, is this. The reason they stop teams from dropping down is because of the volume of complaints for 10 to 15 years. And you can just go and do some research. And there are hundreds, if not thousands of articles. You will find hundreds of quotes from ex-players, pundits, current, Jose Mourinho famously called it out when he was still a top manager and still is respected, of course. This isn't something new. And that's my issue with it. We have campaigned. And I'm telling you now, if Bilbao had beaten United 3-0, forget Bilbao and Man United, if Bodo Glimt had beaten Tottenham and Man United had gone out rounds ago and a team not even qualifying for the Champions League from France or from Italy was going to be in this final against Bodo Glimt, beIN Sport, don't say it's because it's English teams, by the way, people, they cover European football. beIN Sport, CBS, nobody would be calling. In fact, it's the only platforms that have not been calling it out, ironically, or maybe not ironically, is the platforms that show European football, that have the rights, because they can't, right? They're slagging off the competition. They're partners with it, but everybody else is attacking it. And yeah, for me, it's just sour grapes. And next season, you will not see these conversations at all. Unless, because you won't have, I don't think anybody the size of Man United from England would be in it. Arsenal can't be in it. No one can be in it because they're either going to be in the Champions League or not in Europe. You will not see this conversation next year if Aston Villa are 10th, 12th in the Premier League, which is plausible, but they're in the semi-finals of the Europa League. You will not see this conversation on any level. I absolutely guarantee you that, and you can take it to the bank.
Also, just on that as well, it's people saying, well, the Europa League's changed this year. You can't drop down from the Champions League, so therefore it's a weaker tournament, so you shouldn't qualify for the Champions League. Even more reason for it then. Like, there's actually legitimacy to it that it's a second-tier tournament now, and if you win it, you go up to the next tier. I don't think people are understanding. UEFA own these tournaments, not the Premier League. They've got every right to say if you win the Conference League, you go up. It's like a promotion. I don't think people understand it. UEFA have basically incentivized the tournaments that they own very intelligently to say, if you win it, you go up to the next one. If you win it, you go up to the next one. It works really, really well. And people also forget the Champions League is not the elite. The Champions League is not the elite. Look at the qualification for the Champions League. There's some right shit in there. You know, teams from all over Europe play qualifiers for the Champions League. So,
this is absolutely true. And the year that Man United won it and qualified for the Champions League, the only Champions League drop-down team we played at any stage was Rostov. Let us not pretend that Man United were more worthy then than they are now of qualification because we played a Champions League dropout side called Rostov. It's absolutely crazy. Atalanta last season, I don't think they played a single team that dropped down. No one complained that Atalanta were going to the Champions League. And at the same time, these are the same morons, these same amoebas who said, we can't have the Super League. There's no jeopardy. You can't get relegated. You can't get promoted into it. Now what we're saying about the Champions League is don't want anybody to be able to be bumped up. It's not fair. Which is it? Do you want jeopardy, promotions, or none? Come on now. You all know why you're pushing this agenda. It's purely, and you know the rules ain't going to be changed. It's purely to try and shit on Tottenham or Man United if one of us wins it. And we both should be in the final from the positions we're in. So therefore, one of us will win it. And that's all it's about doing. But viewers, we'd love your take on it. We'd love your opinions in the comments section below. Up next, I want to get Mark's opinion on the Trent situation. We're going to go to Jamie Carragher in a moment, but here's a few of the tweets that have been put out about this. This first one here says, this means more, reacting to Trent's video, this means more, but you're leaving your boyhood club to go and stat pad trophies at Madrid. Tom Garrett is said something the opposite, which is what people need to understand and accept is footballers aren't fans. It's their job. You don't turn down Real Madrid. You just don't. No matter how big you think your club is, they are not Madrid. So a real dichotomy of opinions on this situation. Where do you stand with it? Do you think Trent is a traitor? Has he betrayed Liverpool? Or do you feel that, no, he's a professional? Madrid are a bigger team and it makes sense what he's done.
I think there's certain things that you can have an opinion on and state your opinion. And, you know, Tom Garrett's obviously done it there. You don't do this, you don't do that. And that's absolutely fine if you're talking about Messi versus Ronaldo. But I don't know whether he's doing that to wind people up or he actually genuinely believes that. And he's certainly not the only person. Henry Winter did it yesterday. What you don't do is tell Liverpool fans how to think. Because if that was David Beckham leaving at 26 because he wants to leave his boyhood club to go to Real Madrid, which is not what happened. He was forced out to go to Real Madrid, by the way.
Yes.
But if he did go to Real Madrid at 26 and said, I love the club, I'll always be in my heart, I'd be absolutely fucking fuming. And if somebody told me you don't turn down Real Madrid, be grateful for what you've got, I'd say, shut up. I support Manchester United. Manchester United's the be all and end all. I couldn't give a shit about Real Madrid and I couldn't give a shit about David Beckham saying, I'll always love this club, but I'm leaving in my prime. So I don't like the way people tell Liverpool fans how they should and shouldn't think. I know Liverpool fans who are like, I think we'll be better off without him. Best of luck. Not that bothered. See you later. I also know Liverpool fans who can like, I wish he'd never played for the club. Jog on, mate. And that's the thing where I think that for me, this is very, very personal to your club. When Ronaldo left to go to Real Madrid, I knew he wanted to go to Real Madrid. I knew he loved Real Madrid more than Man United. It was his boyhood club. I still bloody hated it. So if it's your club, you've got every right to expect players to want to play for your club, loyalty. What I will say is football's changed. You know, footballers are islands now. They are brands now. I don't think they are fans of football clubs. I don't think there's many at Man United. I don't think there's many at Liverpool that actually care about Liverpool the way we do as fans. And that's, you know, because of people like Richard Keys and the Premier League and everything else and the money they brought into it. They made footballers into individuals. But I think Liverpool fans have got every right to be angry and they've got every right to be pissed off with the volume of people telling them how to think. Because I think when it's a very sensitive club issue, I mean, I can think of Man United, you know, when Jermaine Genius, when we got the game cancelled against Liverpool and he sat on the BBC Match of the Day and said, I don't know why Man United fans are getting so angry. The Glazers have been a good thing for Man United. And, it absolutely lit a fuse. I was like, who the fuck are you to not do your research on our club and tell us what we should and shouldn't be doing? I think that's wrong. On sensitive topics like this, I think you've got to respect the fact that some Liverpool fans quite rightly might be absolutely fuming and they shouldn't be told how to think.
I agree. I did a video last night where I always say that, I say this to my viewers a lot, and I get a lot of stick for it from them, that I'm always willing to change my mind. You've just got to present me with an argument. Don't say I'm chatting waffle. Don't slag me off. Don't throw pejoratives at me. Not because I'm sensitive, but that's not an argument. You know, when people go crime or that's waffle, that's nonsense, I've always typically found those responses to be, I disagree with you, or I don't like what you're saying, but I lack the ability to construct an argument. And I just listened to a lot of Liverpool fans not attack Trent yesterday, but just say, and there's a clip we're going to show of it in a minute, stop telling us how to feel. It's our club. And I could do nothing but agree with it. I could find an angle. I get where Tom Garrett is coming from, that I agree with him that Trent is a professional, and he if I believe that you can't tell Liverpool fans how to feel, that logic also dictates that Trent is allowed to make this professional decision and do what's right for him as an individual, because we shouldn't say that all Liverpool fans and all Liverpool players are the same. That'd be a very weird way to treat people. So I don't think we should be telling Liverpool fans how to feel. I agree with that. I agree with their view. They feel betrayed. They feel like he's a traitor. They feel that, you know, what I like about it is they've exposed one thing about themselves for next year, Liverpool fans, is when I've asked them, a lot of Liverpool fans, do you think your favourites for the Prem next year? A lot have said, don't know, I don't know, I don't know. What they've said to Trent is, we're on the edge of being able to dominate English football when you've left us, which means you can't pretend to be the underdogs anymore, in my personal opinion. But that's a bit of fun. But what I will say to Liverpool fans is this: you have set a precedent now. You have set a precedent, and that is, don't tell Man United fans how they should feel. Don't tell Tottenham fans how they should feel. Don't tell Arsenal fans how they should feel, how they should celebrate, what is right or wrong for their club to how their club operates. Don't tell Man City fans they don't make enough noise, or they should do this when their team scores, or do that when the Champions League anthem plays. Stop telling other fan bases what to say and do. You are the ones who are setting the precedent, which is you can't tell us how to think, feel, and how we should treat our own club players. You now, especially the social media fans, you now have to reciprocate and not give your opinions on the emotional element or the way the behavior of fans of other clubs are. You have to now reciprocate that. You can't demand it in this moment, but then participate yourself. So that's what I'd personally say to that.
I agree, but I also disagree in the sense that I don't actually have a problem with the one that really stuck my eye was Henry Winter wrote War and Peace as a Twitter. And it was basically, it's better to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all. Let him go and enjoy the good times you had. And I just thought, okay, I absolutely appreciate the fact that you've said that. And I don't mind Jamie Carragher saying, you know, Man United need to sack Ten Hag, which he has. I don't mind that. But of course, just remember when you're talking about another club's issues, don't bloody just expect a bit of kickback, because a lot of people yesterday who weren't Liverpool fans were going, Liverpool fans should think like this. And when you get a load of shit for it, just expect it. If I say like Arsenal fans shouldn't be saying Arteta out because of this, this, and this, Arsenal fans have got every right to come to me and say, but I'm an Arsenal fan, it's my fucking club. And if I want to say Arteta out, I will. It's not your club. I accept all of that. Yeah. But what I don't like about the Trent thing specifically is people saying, well, it's better to love and lost, because I think when you put yourself into those shoes, I think there's a level of hypocrisy from the people saying it. I've got That's Football. You've got Football Terrace. I want Liverpool fans to say stuff about Man United. I want Arsenal fans to say stuff about Man United. I really, really do. But I also think that some of these people who are pontificating about the Trent situation and saying it's Real Madrid, you can't turn it down, it's better to love and lost. If it's your club and you feel like that, fine. But a lot of people, when it's their club, won't feel like that.
I agree.
That's my issue with it. I just don't like it when people are going, why are Liverpool fans moaning about Trent? Because actually, I think I completely understand it. And I understand why Trent's done what he's done. Look, it's a free world. Trent can do whatever he wants. But he also similarly has to expect that not everyone's going to go, oh, Lord Trent, thanks for being at Liverpool. We're so humble. Thank you for spending 20 years at Liverpool to your prime and then walking out the door for nothing. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Trent. Whenever you come back, we're going to do this. oh, Lord Trent, see you later. Of course they're not going to do that. Some of them are going to go, Liverpool's bigger than you, fuck off.
No, I agree with that. I think Liverpool fans are entitled to have an opinion on Man United. Just don't tell us how we should feel about the Glazers. So I just want them to maintain that same energy. Speaking of the same energy, let's take a little listen here to Jamie Carragher on the Trent situation, plus a very weird take from him.
Reading throughout the day, obviously when the news breaks, and you've got the reaction of Liverpool supporters, which are different. Some people wish him all the best. Some people are really angry. Some people are somewhere in the middle. I'm probably one of the ones who was somewhere in the middle. But I'm sick all day of reading about journalists or other people who have got no affiliation to Liverpool telling Liverpool supporters how they should feel. They're not Liverpool supporters. Liverpool as a city and a football club is very emotional, and that's what makes us what we are. And that's why you see the scenes that you saw last week when Liverpool won the league. You don't really see those scenes for a team winning the league because we are emotional. Football means a lot to us. So
you don't see teams celebrate winning the league title like Liverpool did last week. Do you agree with Carragher?
No. What I do agree with him though is that, and I have said this before, if Liverpool Football Club had the Glazers in charge, the Glazers would have been gone a long time ago. Like they are.
Yes. You
admire it or you don't, but they are Liverpool. They are a very different place in England. And they, in a positive, I don't want to say positive because I don't like Liverpool Football Club, but they are very unique, the Scouse nation. And that's not just Liverpool, that's Everton as well. But they don't celebrate things any better or any worse than anybody else. Look, Man United, when we won the treble, was unbelievable. The videos are out there. Arsenal have won trophies and they love it as well. I think you can take the piss out of certain clubs when they win a trophy. Of course, some of them don't even turn up for the semi-finals. But I think in relation to Liverpool, look, everybody wants to be the best. Everyone wants to celebrate everything the best. But yeah, I think he's missing the boat there. But the Liverpool Scouse nation, whatever you want to call it, they are unique. I would acknowledge that as someone who lives in the UK. But
yep,
what the other thing he said, I sense a bit of hypocrisy with Carragher. I don't know even if he'd like listened to my video before he went on, because I literally said the same thing at 11 o'clock in the morning, that don't tell Liverpool fans how to think. Now, hopefully that's not the thing, but it did sound quite familiar, because correct me if I'm wrong, Carragher had a real issue with Salah leaving Liverpool and was always quite calm on Trent. Trent's left and walked out the door for nothing, and Salah signed a new contract. And that's my issue with Carragher, is that he seemed to be really anti-Salah leaving, and not that, Trent's almost like British bias, I think.
Yeah.
But Carragher's got to be very careful, because his job's in the media. You can't sit on the media and get paid the money he gets paid and have the exposure he's got and tell people, don't stick your nose in on Liverpool. I mean, he said it, didn't he? Didn't he say journalists sticking their nose in about Liverpool? Mate, you are a paid journalist. You're just a visual journalist. Every bloody week you're on the overlap talking about every bloody club. Arteta, Ten Hag, Casemiro. You do it all the time. What do I do on the United stand? When I look at that Manchester United side, it's about the players. He was having a bloody wank on TV about a year ago because he'd figured out that Man United's midfield was wide open. I mean, everyone else had figured it out months before. So he's got to be very careful about saying, journalists, stick your nose out, because, all right, you're a Liverpool fan. I think he actually was an Everton fan, but he's a Liverpool fan. And that's absolutely fine. But people don't see Carragher as a Liverpool fan. They see him as a journalist himself. So he wants to have opinions on everyone else. And that's the way it is.
Well, I saw him about 2 weeks ago tell a Forest fan on the overlap that he should be grateful, because what he should be grateful for this season. You should be grateful if you win X. You should be grateful if you qualify for Y. You should be grateful if you miss out. I see him regularly on the overlap. How fans should think and how they should feel of other football teams. And I do agree. I know a lot of Liverpudlians. I know a lot of Scousers, especially from sort of my martial arts days. A big section of Team GB and Team England were made up from Liverpool. And I've always got on, like, listen, football, you banter, but day to day, I've always got on with a lot of Scousers personally. They are a very passionate and together city in that regard. At the same time, though, you can't be spouting hypocrisy. Jamie Carragher, I'm talking about. You can't say, don't you dare ever tell any of us how we should think or feel, when you have made a career for the past decade telling football fans how they should think and feel. And if you actually just go back and listen to so much of his content about Arsenal, as an example, Arsenal fans should be fuming that their players are celebrating like this after a game. Arsenal fans should be angry that their manager has these antics on the sideline. Arsenal fans should be absolutely bereft at the transfer activity. And sometimes he's right. They should be annoyed, right? It's the transfer activity. But you're telling fans how they should think and feel in one breath and then telling everybody to stop it in the other. And that, for me, again, they don't make good content. They just have the TV rights. If Sky stopped being able to show games, people would stop tuning in to their shows. I'm very, very convinced of it. But what would have made good content is for someone in that studio to have challenged him on that there and then. Gone, hang on a minute, though. But you said this about Arsenal. You said this about Manchester United. You told Tottenham fans what they should think about that. You told a Forest fan last week what they should be grateful for, and that they're probably going to go down in the next few years. So you should be enjoying this. Even if you miss out, you shouldn't feel disappointed because you're going to go down soon anyway, and you should be riding high. He tells people consistently how to think. When it comes to Liverpool, he has a problem with it. That's where I've got an issue. I don't mind Liverpool fans and Jamie Carragher saying it, but you have to practice what you preach, for me personally. And he's just a big, big hypocrite here. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Jamie Carragher watches your videos and then says, I'm saying that today. Or he's shown the video by a producer saying, look, this is a really good take. Mark's got 100,000 views, or Robbie's got 100,000 views saying it. We're going to push this narrative. I actually think as well, social media, I think we make about 50-60% of the content for the conglomerates. They just copy what we're talking about and saying and doing anyway, all of them.
100%. And that's why I said it. And that's why I wanted to circle back to it. That what Carragher said on that show didn't fit. Like, it didn't fit for him to say people need to keep their nose out and stop telling Liverpool fans how to think. To say that on Monday Night Football on Sky, when you are a pundit for the last few years, who quite rightly gives an opinion on loads of different. I want Carragher to talk about Arsenal. I want Carragher to talk about Man United, because when we're doing this show, we might go, "What's he talking about?" Or he's made a good point. Jamie Carragher's job is to talk about Premier League football clubs. Perfect, but to stand on Sky Sports and go, people shouldn't be giving and telling Liverpool fans what to think. It doesn't suit him and the role that he has, even though he's an ex-Liverpool player and a Scouser. It doesn't suit him to say that on that show. And that's why I said it's almost like the producer's gone, we've seen this clip somewhere, would be really good if you said it. And actually it backfires, because it doesn't make sense when Carragher has gone right in on Arsenal, right in on Ten Hag. And then he's there when people are going in on Liverpool going, you can't tell us what journalists out there saying this, that and the other. You know when it would work, though? It works if it's me saying it as a Man United fan about Liverpool, going, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but people shouldn't be telling Liverpool fans how to think. It works if Stephen Graham, you know, the guy from Adolescence, the actor, I don't know whether you know, but he likes football, might be an Everton fan. If he's a Liverpool fan and they interview him outside Anfield and go, what do you think? And he goes, my big issue is people are telling our fans what to think, because he hasn't said anything else about Man United or anything else. So the point's right. It's just a little bit hypocritical because, as you say,
he's out there doing it, and that for me was my only real personal issue with what he said, is that you do the exact same thing, Jamie, and that's been why I've called out the media for many years now, you know. And I still enjoy elements of it. I listen to Talk Sport still, not for the most of the breakdown. I listen to it for the calls. I listen to it for the fan opinion they have, but they do less and less of that now than when I used to listen to it religiously. But it's just when you hear the hypocrisy, you'll see a team one week play a 15, 16, 17-year-old and get praised for it. A week later, Arsenal do it and they make it into this thing. And I'm like, hang on, no, I've got to say something here. It's the hypocrisy that I'm calling out. And they pick and choose, and every club will go through it. And a lot of people haven't liked that I've defended Arsenal in the last few years, but I'm only doing it for this exact reason we're talking about. So the day that it's against my football club, what I'm hoping for is that I get treated, the trolls will never treat you like this, but I hope I get treated with a little bit of grace, which is, you know what, with Terry, he's not just defending Man United because Wenger has said they shouldn't be in the Champions League because he's a United fan. He often calls out these hypocrisies when it's about Liverpool, when it's about Arsenal, when it's about, and that's the only reason I ever started trying my best to be unbiased, is I wanted to be, hopefully my opinions resonate a little bit more when I'm speaking about my own club. And I do find that if you do what Jamie Carragher does, where you tell everyone else what to think and feel, and then when it comes to your club, you behave differently, I think you lose a lot of credibility. I think you lose a lot of your audience. And he's lucky, as I say, he's on Sky. Well done to him. He's going to get an audience regardless because of that. But yeah, it was poor, in my opinion, from him. But viewers, I'd love to get your opinions on this. Please make sure like buttons are being hit if you haven't done so already. I saw this tweet at the weekend, Mark, and it said, just seen an Arsenal fan say Arteta needs to win against PSG or leave. Steady, definitive improvement year on year. Top transfer targets coming in the summer. Yeah, tear it all down because some impatient prat wants to go and replace him with Simeone. Obviously, it's caused a little bit of a stir with my mate Dan Potts, who wasn't best pleased, as you know. But on that tweet and that view you have generally, there's a lot of Arsenal fans that kind of have this view of if he wins the Champions League, give him a trophy, he should stay. If we go out to PSG, sack him, start again, and go and get a new manager. And that opinion, by and I don't think it was just Dan Potts, but that opinion by and large seems to get under your skin somewhat.
Yeah, look, honestly, and obviously I know you know the person who was on the thumbnail, and I've seen a couple of clips of him getting his knickers in a twist because apparently I don't know who it is. Apparently I watch him on TikTok. Apparently I've seen the clips. I don't know who it is. I know the face because I've seen the face on your channel before, but I didn't know his name was that. And to be honest with you, what I saw was, whilst I was doing some work on Saturday evening, I went on YouTube and I saw on my timeline a few AFTV thumbnails, and the title was there. I could barely see the face. I just saw the title there, and I instantly went on Twitter and went, I can't believe these prats. I didn't watch it. Does he want Simeone? Does any other Arsenal? I don't know. It was a general statement about these prats. Now, if you're Arteta out, it's not aimed at him. It's aimed at anybody who's Arteta out. I think you are a bunch of prats, and maybe you don't want Simeone. Maybe you want Xavi. But that's my opinion. If person A says something stupid in front of a camera, person B has a right to react to it, and then person A can get personal and abusive. I've played the game. I've done it for 10 years. That's basically how it works. But if you publicly say something that I think stupid about football, then I've got a right to say, I think it's stupid. And if you want to take that personal and get abusive about it, I'm out, because I've played the game. I don't give a toss about name calling or whether I've seen you on TikTok or anything like that, because it's not personal for me. I do this for a living. I've been doing it for a very long time. We've just spoken about Jamie Carragher. I don't expect Jamie Carragher to do a video about me or say anything, abusive. We've just spoken about Arsène Wenger. I very much doubt he's going to take to Twitter. It's football, it's opinion. And I think anybody who is Arteta out, if he loses tomorrow night, is a prat. But you're entitled to your opinion, and it is your club. And I am giving an opinion on your club. So I get it. It's a free-for-all. It's not that deep. It really isn't. I've said it for years. I can see what Arteta's doing. When they were printing the Arteta out t-shirts, and apparently the Arteta out thing is aimed at somebody. No, it's the fact that Londoners predominantly support Arsenal, and I'm just using a play on the word, Arteta out, and I'll keep doing it because it's not aimed at anybody. Actually, it's aimed at Arsenal. When the Arteta out t-shirts were being printed and Arsenal weren't that good, I said, I can't believe this. He's took over a really difficult club. He's got rid of two massive fan favourites. I mean, bloody Aubameyang, everyone used to be up his arse. So he's rebuilt that football club. They've been second in the league for 3 years in a row. They're in the Champions League semi-final. He still hasn't got a bloody striker. And I think they might win the league next year. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do in the summer transfer window. The fact that people think that it's a good idea to shout, sack him. I mean, these people, I wouldn't leave them in charge of my fridge. So you want to sack the manager who is working on signings with a new director of football. You want to sack him so that director of football has to get a new manager in, abandon his transfer plans, and try and sort the summer out in May. They know it's a bad take, or they don't know how a football club runs. Arteta will be there next season. Next season is, I admit, the season where if he doesn't win the league and they don't win a trophy, you probably do look at it and go, thanks for everything you've done. You're not quite there. And that's just always been my assessment, Terry.
You know, for me, as I say, I know Dan. Me and Dan get on. Me and Dan get on well. You and I did have a very brief. I was laughing, as you know, but on WhatsApp about it, because when it's two people you know and get on with, I
probably
thought
look, it's mate. It really, I didn't know who it was before. I saw the picture. Obviously, I know who it is now. I've never met him. I've never spoke to him. It's not personal, and I might see something tonight and go, "That person's a prat." It's not that deep.
No,
it's what I do.
No, I understand. Yeah, for me, what I always find interesting about these situations is, I remember once I was doing a show with Lee Gunner. Big up, Lee. Hope you're well and good, mate. And he wanted to. He's like, "I'm gonna all day long. I'm gonna roast you. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna chef you up." And I had no idea what I'd said or done, but I always look forward to it with someone I get on with, someone I trust, someone I'm friends with. They're like, if you said to me today, "Oh, Terry, when we do hot take, I'm going to roast you about something you've tweeted," I get a little bit excited. I'm like, this is fun, right? I enjoy it. And then he sort of said, he basically called me a hypocrite because I wanted Ten Hag gone, but I thought the Arsenal fans should want Arteta to stay. And it made me laugh because I was saying again, but the one thing Lee was missing, and he's, again, entitled to view me as a hypocrite because he views it a certain way. I'm not saying he's not entitled to an opinion. But what I found interesting about the debate, and we eventually got to a kind of consensus, was, well, the thing is, I just view what Arteta's doing at Arsenal differently to what Ten Hag was doing at Man United. So, of course, I want the outcomes and the actions to be different by the respective boards, because I don't view both situations the same. And I think that's, for me, where I think a lot of people maybe slightly not misunderstood you, but were not thinking about what you're saying. You think Arsenal were really close to winning a trophy, and with the right signing this summer, will get over the line. Therefore, sacking a manager and potentially stopping that from happening it would be a crazy thing. Where Dan sees it the other way. Dan doesn't. I think Dan's view is very much, even if he gets the strikers and all the players, he doesn't think Arteta is ever going to get Arsenal over the line. And for me, it's more about having a conversation about why you think what you feel, a debate about the actual problem or scenario, as you say, rather than it being personal. At the same time, listen, Arsenal fans were very emotional on Saturday. Emotions run high, and people do. And that's the interesting thing, because the way Dan spoke about it on Saturday was very different to how he spoke to me about it yesterday, which is fair, because we're grown-ups. We calm down, right? We get angry one minute, calm the next. But yeah, look, I'm a bit more on your side on this. Although I don't think sacking Arteta is the end of the world, but it's as long as they can get a better manager who's attainable. And the problem that I personally have is when I listen to people speak about sacking him, you're not getting Simeone, you're not getting Zidane, you're not getting Ancelotti. There's a lot of managers out there that you're just not getting. They're not attainable. And then a lot of the names they're linked to, I feel, are a massive risk. And when I say a massive risk, they might make you better. They might make you worse. You're right on the edge of winning. And it's just my opinion. You're entitled to your own. I wouldn't twist at this point unless it was literally a case of, wow, we're getting Pep off Arsenal. Wow, Klopp's coming out of retirement. He's going to manage us. Then I would look at it and say, if Jurgen Klopp suddenly made himself available and Arsenal could get him, that for me is an upgrade. Where you go, I think they're going to get even better now. But a lot of the names I see fans give, like Areola as an example, I think, I wouldn't take that risk personally if I was in Arsenal's position. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
I also think as well, talking from experience, I have respect for these fans. Man United, there's some Amrim out fans. Obviously, the Wenger out movement's been going on for quite a while. It must be a really miserable existence, because primarily for me, I think you should support a football club. And it's happened a few times with United, like when we beat Brentford and we were 1-0 down and McTominay scored those 2 goals. I was on the match reaction going, get in, bloody saved my weekend. And United fans were going, embarrassing. It was embarrassing today. How can you celebrate that? And I'm like, because I support Man United, and the result of United, it dictates my weekend. And you don't always win good, but you win. It's your team. It wins. I'm not even a big fan of McTominay, but bloody get in, give him the Ballon d'Or. And some people are just negative. And I realised that they're negative because they don't want Ten Hag. And it's an obsession. And it takes them away from enjoying what they're meant to support. And I did it once with Van Gaal. I was Van Gaal out at Christmas and he didn't go till May. It's the worst 5 months I've ever had supporting Man United, because I found myself where every time we got a lucky equaliser or a win, I wasn't enjoying it as much because I was going, fucking Van Gaal, jammy twat. You know, I got so locked in on Van Gaal losing his job, it took away from my enjoyment of supporting Manchester United. And that was when I'd never done that under Sir Alex, and I've never done it again. I've always gone, look, whether I think this manager is going to be successful or not, until it gets to a point where I actually think the club would do something about it, I'm not going to waste time when I know it's not going to happen, getting obsessed about it. And I think that's what I'm saying to Man United fans with Amorim out at the moment and Arsenal with Arteta. Factually, he's not going anywhere until next season. So why are you getting so angry and everything like that? And just enjoy your club. And Arsenal were never going to win the league without a striker anyway. So you'll have a striker in the summer. What are you going to do? Start the season going Arteta out? If you get Gyökeres and you get Zubimendi and you get Nico Williams, are you going to start the season going Arteta out and not enjoy that? I mean, come on, you're Arsenal fans. Enjoy Arsenal. Winning the title with bloody, I don't know, Ange Postecoglou surely would be enjoyable. It's still Arsenal winning the league, isn't it? Even though it's a Spurs coach. And I think people, I think people do lose sight of that. And it happens with United. And I don't understand that. So, but you know, everyone's got an entitled to their opinion. Of course they are. It's not that deep.
Lloyd here says the real question is, do the players back him?
Arteta, yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah, there's no evidence for me that they're not behind him. So yeah, I agree. Aya here says Arteta outers remind me of a friend of mine who suddenly quit his job without a plan, and 2 years later they are still looking for a job. They need to at least give us viable replacements because it's emoting at this point. That's what I will say. The response I hate in both directions. One, there's no one better. I don't necessarily think that's true. You can have a conversation. Don't shut the conversation down because there's no one better. Poor argument. Equally, anyone who's Arteta out, Amorim out, whatever it may be, anyone who essentially is saying it's not my job to find a replacement, it's not my job to find a solution, well, then you don't. For me, if you're going into a space, so on a YouTube channel, Spotify, TikTok, whatever it is, if you're giving an opinion, I feel that you have an obligation to present an argument or a solution. So if you want Amorim sacked, for you to be listened to, I think you should have, and to be taken seriously, you should have a solution in mind, who the replacement would be, why that person would work, how attainable are they. One, you're putting out an opinion for a conversation and people to react to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't like all this nonsense of you're only saying that for attention. Well, everybody tweets, everybody posts on TikTok, everybody posts on YouTube, in one way, shape, or form for attention. And I'm not embarrassed. If I didn't want my opinions to be seen by others and reacted to, I would just talk into the mirror. I would just speak to myself or ring a friend. You put it on the internet, you're doing it because you want people to see it. That is a cast iron fact you can't get away from. You've got to be able, I agree with you 100%. You have to present an argument. You have to present rationale. It can't just be because I've got standards or because there's no one better than him. You have to have a conversation about it.
You can't have a hypothetical sacking without a hypothetical replacement. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And they go, but I've had it in the past with Ten Hag. People will go, I'll go, right, you want Ten Hag out. You call him a bold fraud. Who are you getting in? That's not my job. That's the job of the club. What, the job of the club that's not sacking him? That you're telling them to sack him, they're not going to sack him, but you won't hypothetically tell me who you're going to replace him with. And I think that becomes a big problem as well. And I also think as well that some people, and I don't know who these people are, and I'm certainly not talking about the guy who Dan or whoever or anyone that's been mentioned here. But remember, AFTV was very popular 10 years ago and I've had this chat with Robbie. It got to a point where people were queuing up almost like wrestlers, smacking themselves around the face, ready for the camera to go, ah! And the authenticity disappeared because people thought, I'm going to be Troops or I'm going to be DT. And I think people still do behave like that in the sense that they just go too quick. And we saw it with United against, who was it? Who did we play before Bilbao?
Leon.
No, in the league.
The league would have been.
We drew, didn't we? Bournemouth. We drew with Bournemouth. Yeah. So we drew with Bournemouth away, which is not a bad result in the context of the Premier League. Amorim out, all over the place. Amorim out. And then Thursday, we beat Bilbao 3-0. And it's like, the same accounts, whether it's social media or whatever, are going, oh yeah, great, great. You always imagine them if they're a YouTuber going, oh, great goal, great, gritted teeth. It's like you've gone too soon. And it's like, how can an Arsenal fan tomorrow night, if you're Arteta out and angry, tomorrow night, if you beat PSG, which I hope you do, go, oh, amazing. You've sort of sold that enjoyment a little bit. And I experienced that with Van Gaal. And let's not forget, this is not Arsenal fans. This is not Man United fans. This is football in general. What about Spurs fans who've said, Ange out, if he wins the Europa League, that's your best trophy in a lifetime, and you're in the Champions League. Liverpool fans were doing it with Salah a few months ago. Like Salah, there were Liverpool fans on social media going, he's overrated, we need to sell him. Now, I'm sure there's a vast majority of Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans going, you know, they don't represent us. But, you know, we do see it, don't we?
Do you know what I find interesting about the social media thing? If you go back to AFTV as a case in point, forget what the people have done since in terms of behavior and everything else for a moment. Just think about their footballing opinion. When God rest Claude, love that man. When Claude and Troops, DT, when these guys first went on that channel, they weren't just screaming Wenger out. They wanted him gone, but they told you why. They gave you ideas of who would replace him. They broke down the problem with keeping him and the issues at the club. It's why the content was so compelling. It was funny at times. You know, my mum, is she mad with Troops? Great thing. Like, it's time to go with Claude. There was catchphrases that came out of it, and it was it trended every week, and it was fun. But the reason why
they were 100% right, though, weren't they? I mean, Wenger overstayed his welcome. Everybody knew it. By 10 years, probably.
It was compelling because they would tell you things. Now what you get, and I think for me, as a content creator, I can smell this a mile away. It's like my dog. As soon as food comes out the fridge, my dog is there because he smells it a mile away. I'm like this with these creators now. People run agendas because it's like, how do I get noticed? Do you know what? I'm going to say Amorim out, or I'm going to say, by the way, doesn't mean everyone who wants Amorim out or Arteta out does this. I need to preface this because people, again, they get angry. Some people say it, and the ones I'm skeptical of is that when they don't want to provide a solution, there's two reasons. One, they're just saying it for attention, and they don't actually have an argument. It's just, I'm going to say he's got to go. I've got high standards, and I just want to win. It's like buzzwords and phrases, no analysis. The other group of content creators now, they don't want to give solutions because the criticism of their solution can lose them traction. For instance, people will say, get rid of Ruben Amorim. Who should the replacement be? If they suggest a manager that the rest of the Amorim out group think is awful and won't work, suddenly they're an outcast even in the Amorim out brigade because their solution is seen as a bad one. You also see it when it comes to not like, so I've seen this with a lot of Arteta do this too, by the way. And it's why, as you say, sometimes just enjoy your club. Not every game has to be met with, I was right about keeping Arteta. I was right about Arteta needing to be sacked. Because you have this sort of moment of, well, what would make you change your mind? What would make you, Man United sign we take it onto United. United sign Cunha. There'll be some that don't like it. Well, what would change your mind? They used to say, you know what, if he does this, does that, does the other, I'll change my mind. Now they don't want to give you that answer. Do you know why? Because they never want to drop the agenda. If they say, I'm going to become Arteta in if he wins us a Champions League, those people that rely on being Arteta out on social media, this is why I think it ruins the enjoyment of watching your football team when you do that, because you need Arteta not to win it. Otherwise, you're going to be called out. So people end up hoping that so now what you get is people don't even give full opinions and full analysis anymore because they don't want to be boxed into a corner and be told they're wrong. And I feel for me, that was never, and I'm not saying everyone who's Arteta out, everyone who hates Amorim does that. But if you want to be a content creator, that is not the way to go. That was never the way the originators in this space became popular. They gave opinions. Some of them are right. Some of them are wrong. Some of their solutions worked. Some of their solutions didn't. But at the same time, they were popular and people liked listening to it because they gave a full and frank opinion. What we're now getting is half-baked opinions and catchphrases. That's about it, mate. It really, really is it.
Well, it's like being in the dinner queue, isn't it? You know, when you go to school and there's a queue for fish and chips and there's a queue for beans on toast. I'm going to queue for fish and chips because that's what I want, unless I want beans on toast. But I think some people know fish and chips is the best, but they're eating beans on toast just because no one else is. And it's like, look at me eating beans on toast. There's got to be an authenticity to it. I think that, like Cameron says, Arteta's had 5 years and failed. Amorim is in a final, which Arteta can't even do. It's great that you've got that opinion, but the way I look at it is, and somebody said before, and I can't remember who it was, Mark's not an Arsenal fan. He wants Arteta to stay because he's going to fail. I think this is a great point. People used to want Fellaini to start for Man United or Oli to stay at United because they knew we'd be shit. I think you're going to win the league next year. If I wanted Arteta to stay because I thought he was shit, I'd say it. I would say it, because no Arsenal aren't going to go, oh, Goldbridge wants Arteta to stay because he's shit, we better sack him. I think he needs to stay because I think next season's going to be your. That's it. I don't think I'll be saying this next April if you're second. I genuinely don't. I think there's a time limit. I'm not saying give him more time. As for your 5 years, but it's been steady progress. You've not been in a Champions League semi-final since 2006,
2009.
2009 against United. Yeah,
against United. Yeah. Do you know what's interesting? I want to address something really quickly. Sorry, when I'm talking about the United fans that want an Amorim out, I'm not. I will address it because people like to spread nonsense and try and create problems. I'm not talking about rants. Do you know why? I disagree with rants.
Do you watch it?
I watch Rance's stuff. I watched Rance's opinions, and this is why the person saying that in the chat, I'm not even going to give you the courtesy of saying your name.
Cause trouble, aren't they?
You're trying to cause trouble because you're doing a disservice to Rance. Rance wants him gone, but Rance, I've listened to Rance and he provides solutions. So no, I'm not talking about him. That's you. Do you know what I mean? And again, I disagree with them, but he gives whether you like
bit of a bite, Terry. That is.
He's given
a bit on that. He's got you.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's just for me. It's just like, no, I'm not talking about him. I just want to put that out there because people like to spread nonsense. But
when I'm talking about it, because I've got a huge United channel and I'm not being arrogant, like the live chat.
It's not that big, Mark. Come on, now. It's not that big.
But the live chat won't mind me saying this. The live chat is full of shit. Like it is. Like, it is. Like there's some, and I love that. Like I don't need to go and watch, and I haven't got the time, thank God. So when I do a live show on the United stand, I don't need to go and watch, full-time Devils or whatever, because the live chat it's got every opinion you want. There's people going, Goldbridge, you're a moron, Amorim needs to go. So when I talk about like United opinions, I'm literally talking about my live chat, because I don't need to go and watch it, because it will be there. There'll be somebody going, sell Maguire, or sign Jonathan David, or give Onana the captaincy. You literally will find it in there. And some I agree.
And as 80 says here, Rance is in 80's opinion, Rance is wrong, but he backed it with points. And that for me is what content should be. You don't have to agree with people's opinions, but there's got to be an argument. If somebody is just saying, because I've got standards, because I don't like him, because if they haven't got an argument, for me, their opinion just should not be taken seriously, personally. But that's my view. On Arsenal this week, do you see a remontada? Do you see a comeback happening in Paris?
I'm more confident than I think some Arsenal fans are. I think that when you look at United have got a 3-0 lead on Thursday, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Bilbao could do something. So 1-0 in Paris, Arsenal. I think it just depends how Paris approach it. I mean, they are brilliant. The atmosphere is very, very good. And every time I've watched them against Man City, Liverpool and Villa, they've been very good. What I will say is they very rarely kill teams, though. And I mean, they actually lost to Liverpool in Paris, despite absolutely battering them. They lost. Villa got within a goal of them. Arsenal only lost 1-0. So, but this is the frustrating thing about Arsenal, and why I don't really take the criticism too seriously, is that if you had Victor Osimhen up front in this game, I would say you've got a great chance of going through. But you don't. You haven't even got a striker. And I think scoring goals is very different. They're very difficult without a goal scorer. And that is going to hinder Arsenal. But they could do it. I don't think Arsenal should win the Champions League, by the way. I want the Champions League winner to be a complete team. And I think PSG are a complete team. I think Inter are a complete team. And I think Barca are a complete team. I look at Arsenal and they're not the finished article yet. And I think if they win the Champions League, I don't think they'll go down as great winners. They'll go down as a team that scrapped and scraped, and that's been done before. But they've got a chance tomorrow. got a chance.
Yeah, listen, I've got a feeling they're going to do it. I've got a feeling that they are going to. I don't know what. I've not thought enough about what the scoreline is going to be. Just got a feeling they're going to go through. And my reasoning is nothing really to do with football. A lot of the predictions I make are about the sound around the game, the noise and the hype. If I look at my timeline this morning, if I look at opinions over the weekend, it's silent. Nothing's going on. And I've got just a little gut feeling that because of all the silence, it's going to play into Arsenal's hands in one way, shape, or form. I felt maybe it's because in the lead up to the first leg, I felt they made it. They made the occasion too big, and they played the occasion, not the game. It feels like they're doing it differently this time around. Maybe all the noise starts today. You said there's a bad take there. What take was that, mate?
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that sort of frustrates me, and I'm going to bite. So Nathan says PSG don't have a striker, not a complete team, but that's your bad analysis, Nathan, of football. Like Arsenal, Arteta has a striker in his team. They're injured. Havertz, Jesus. They're not good enough, but they are pivot. They are a focal point striker. You don't have one. You're playing a midfielder in that position, so you don't have the player that you need. PSG play a system that doesn't require a striker. That's a very different thing. Real Madrid last year didn't play with a striker. They had Bellingham and then two wide forwards. PSG have got a striker on the bench if they want to use it. Enrique makes a conscious decision not to play a striker in the system he uses. So when you say PSG don't have a striker, that's sort of having a pop at Arteta going, well, but that's systematic. Arteta would have a striker if they were fit. He doesn't have one. So he has to use a midfielder there. Enrique's is a conscious decision. He can have a striker if he wants to. He's got one on the bench. He doesn't use one. So I think that's a very unfair assessment, Nathan.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I do view it the other way, though. Not the other way, but there's an extra layer to it, I think. You are right. If Arsenal win it this year, Arsenal fans will not care about... This is a bit like the Liverpool conversation earlier. Arsenal fans won't care whether anybody else sees them as a great team or not. They are just going to be in cloud cuckoo land. However, they then go and make those signings that they're linked to, Zubimendi, Gyökeres, Williams, etc. They would then have a great chance, if they're an even better team, of potentially retaining it or winning it again in a season or two. Then suddenly, if they're able to do that, retaining it's very hard, but maybe if they improved and then won it again in a season or two's time, suddenly that core group and manager have two Champions Leagues, suddenly they go, because then you would start to forget that the first team that won it was scrappy, and it would go down as a very, very great side. Because the one thing you'd say about barring in the Premier League era is that I don't remember. That's a misthinking. We've never had any Premier League team who's won it and a year or two later won it again. There's always been a fair distance of, sometimes decades. Like Man United, 9 years between our two Champions League triumphs. Liverpool won it in 2005 and then in 2019. And again, it's 6 years since they last won it. City won it 2 years ago. They've got a chance. Yeah, Chelsea, big gaps. So that's the one thing I would say. I think you're right. They wouldn't be seen as a European powerhouse or a great.
What's the gap between Arsenal winning it? Oh, no.
Eternity.
I'll tell you who did it back to back. Forest. Your team. Liverpool. Liverpool.
No,
I was just trying to think of a time when the English clubs dominated European football. Late 70s, early 80s, Aston Villa.
In the 70s and 80s, teams did it. The English teams did it quite a bit. They would win it, and they went on to win it again. But I still feel, again, I'm not taking anything away from that era, but I feel it was different. And what I mean by that is that only the champions qualified for it. So if you were one of the best teams, you're winning it. What's harder now about the Champions League than that era is that a team that comes third this season in the Premier League, say Man City, could legitimately be the best team in the world next season with transfers they buy. Where in the 70s and 80s, if you were the third best team in England in a season, it didn't matter how much you improved the following year, you weren't in the Champions League to be able to compete for it. You had to wait till you won the league again. So I do feel that this era, it is harder to retain. It's why what Real Madrid did with Zidane was so amazing, because teams can improve and they're in it, even though they're not champions. That era, again, taking nothing away from it, it was just a different type of competition back then. But viewers, listen, give us your thoughts on that. A few super chats here. Terry and Mark, but based on Wenger and these saying no promotion from the Europa, let's go all USA, NFL, and have no domestic promotions too.
We basically got that anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is a big gap between the big gap between the teams that come up and go down. I've got a horrible feeling that all the promoted teams next season are going straight back down. All of them. A massive feeling on that. Hating on Trent is weird. Flex with the amount of Scousers I've met living in Spain and encouraging others to do so to rent their villas. I don't quite get that.
Oh, I think it's just because like it's hypocritical because there's a lot of Scousers who've got villas in Spain.
Ah, right. I hear you.
I think it's a joke. Yeah.
I think it's a joke. I missed it. I'm so sorry if I ruined your super chat. I didn't mean to. Amorim can be a Portuguese champion this weekend. Yeah, he gets a medal, doesn't he? He gets a medal if they. Yeah, because they play each other, don't they? I can't wait to watch. Did you watch the Sporting game on the week? I actually sat there and had it on my phone.
No.
2 late goals to win. They were 1-0 down. 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. A screamer to win it. And there's 2 games to go. Level on points. Sporting on top on goal difference. But it's Benfica Sporting this weekend. So essentially, the team that wins it will, I mean, not mathematically, but they will win the league. There'll be a 3-point gap. Plus, the team that wins it will have the slightly superior goal difference. So,
Scott McTominay's going to win a Scudetto, isn't he?
Go on. I'm a bit like you. I felt it was right for him to go. I'm annoyed we didn't replace him well enough yet in terms of that role he plays. But I'm really happy for him individually. I really, really am.
You can see what Ollie said. Ollie was like, I can't believe they've sold him. And I thought, bloody, talk about, I mean, he was a goal poacher. He probably had a few tap-ins that he claimed. But mate, Ollie was playing McTominay as a holding midfielder. It's Ten Hag who played him. That's the McTominay that's valuable. The one that's scoring goals as an attacking midfielder. Ollie never played him there.
Yeah. Say my name says the streets want PSG Barca. Yeah, but the streets also think that the 100 men can beat up a gorilla. And I don't think that's happening either. Do you know what I mean? So I think Inter Milan are going to go through as well. I think Inter will go through. I look
forward to that tonight.
Yeah, tonight I love these nights where there's no English club involved because everybody's less fucking emotional. Everyone just watches the football and calls the football, which is nice. I love that our former United boys are winning things. Yeah, I want them to do well. I don't hate any of our players. I only ever really want people to move on. In the moment, you might say things you don't quite mean on a watch along or straight after a game. But I never wish ill on any of the players that leave the club. I don't hate them as individuals. I'm glad for Scott. I'm really glad. No, 100 men wouldn't win. They just wouldn't. I keep saying this to you, Kingsley. First man gets his male appendages ripped off, right? Gets his old boy and he gets the old Frank and Beans ripped off. Another guy gets his face bitten off. Every other man.
I think 100 men. I mean, I'm tired of talking about it, Terry, to be honest. But I think 100 men would easily win. 100 men would win.
Yeah, if they didn't run away.
100 Terrys, I'd back you.
Cheers, mate. We'll do it. We'll get in there, get out Emery and Harry, and we'll have a go. Look, I want to thank every single person who was tuned in. I'm on the United Stand at 2 p.m. today, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I am, yes. Yeah. So I'm on the United Stand at 2 p.m. So we'll see you there. We're back here live at 3:30 for Straight Facts. We have Arsenal fan Connor coming on and LB previewing the Champions League. Some big transfer stories as well, which... an old United goalkeeper coming back. I will say it's very quick. I'm very, very happy with the age profile of players we're linked to because none of them are fucking kids. I'm actually really excited. We're going to be signing experience, it looks like. Until next time, everyone, thank you. Mark, always a pleasure, mate. And we'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Peace.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.